But your ass! You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you. Now get up!
Good evening, friends. It's Friday, which means it's time once again for another entertaining episode of Observations on Roads to Liberty, part of the Think Liberty Network. That is think-liberty.com for all of your freedom posting needs. Think-liberty.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on pretty much all of the apps. Also, please go to roads, the number 2, liberty.com for your freedom swag. Go get a shirt, go get a mug, go get something else. Just give us your money, please. Tonight, it's the very first Hobbservations episode of 2021, so I thought we'd kick things off a little light, more light than normally. Normally we talk about prepping and guns and all sorts of real cynical shit. So today I thought I'd try to keep things a little bit light with a man whose work I've been enjoying quite a bit for the past few months. Ed Black of I Survived the Kali Yuga. Ed, how are you this evening, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. Well, shit, I thought we were going to talk about some heavy stuff right now, and now I got to keep it light. Okay.
we will. It always kind of goes off the rails. I don't ever have any kind of plan when I go into these things. I just find interesting people and try to talk to them for an hour and fill out an hour. So like I said, I've been enjoying your works, your Kali Yuga comics for a while now. They always used to like pop up and I'd laugh at them, and then I was like, I'm gonna give this guy a follow. See them all the time, and they always kind of make me smile a little bit. So tell us a little bit about that and what it is you do and what these things.
Yeah. So I started making comics around 2018. I ran a meme page on Facebook back in the day called Dank Detective Memes. Shockingly, it's still up. They haven't taken it down yet. They've taken down like every gun page in the world except for mine, oddly enough. But I ran that for a while, and then I basically decided to make this caricature kind of myself, but of also every kind of two-way minded person in the world, and I called it that 30-year-old greatest generation dude. And from there I made a few short strips, and they're crudely drawn. I drew them with MS Paint and a mouse back in the day, and enough people thought they were funny that they got shared a lot, and it kind of snowballed from there. And I started making more comics, and eventually I was like, well, fuck, I used to be a writer, so I'm going to try to leverage this into an actual story. So I started writing serials off of that, and created characters and a whole thing. And 3 years later, here I am, and I'm a semi-famous internet celebrity, I guess.
Yeah, they're always good, and the thing that I appreciate about them most, I think, is that it's the art style, which is very kind of simplistic film noir. I think I'd call it. It's very and then the subject matter of it. There are always these 4-panel things, and the first 3 panels are usually like really deep or very serious and very heavy, very somber, cynical, whatever. And then it's like the punchline comes in the 4th, and sometimes there's not even any text in them. It's just like an expression on the guy's face, and it's that sort of being able to take a look at some very heavy and very adult topics, and then turn around and take that kind of gallows humor at a very shitty situation that I know I appreciate. And speaking as a former soldier myself, it's something that I think all of us that have had that experience kind of need to keep the old noodle squared away up top.
Yeah, I think anybody that's been to the right of baseline as far as violence and hard situations goes will appreciate the kind of gallows humor, as you put it. Anytime you have a serious subject matter, a pretty fundamental coping mechanism of people is to make light of it in some way. And I've been around myself. I've been all over the place, and it's just kind of one of those things. It's just like you acquire it over time, I guess. That kind of like cynical humor, I guess. And I started making comics off of that, and enough people thought it was relatable that they just kept kept tuning in and kept coming back to the page. And I think I'm at like a couple thousand strips now because of it. So
yeah, the old saying is you got to laugh to keep from crying.
exactly.
Yeah, I think I'd rather laugh than cry, anyways. But it seems like you're really you're really attracting the right kind of people too. I read some of the comments down there, and there's some stuff that's spicy and some stuff that some people say some things that Zuckerberg probably is going to shake the no stick at.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that by and large you probably got a pretty solid fan base of some genuinely good dudes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am today without the core audience that I accumulated over the last couple of years. And I would shout out to each of them individually, but I'm going to forget at least one of them, and I don't want to do that. So you all know who you are. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. I mean, you guys, you let me do what I love to do every day. And, I've turned a hobby into something that's actually semi-lucrative. And, I can hopefully I keep entertaining you and keep more people coming to the page and, laughing at the, weird situation we find ourselves in nowadays. Cause everything's kind of, I mean, what the fuck, man,
Yeah, that's a good segue.
Oh, I think you dropped off there, buddy.
No, fuck. My brother asked me this question the other day. He said, on a scale of street corner prostitute to Caligula's orgies, how fucked are we in the next few years?
I think we're somewhere in the second triumvirate phase of fucked. So not terminal, but somewhere in the beginning stages of the decline of Rome. We're kind of right in there in that corridor, I think.
Yeah, my brother's a kind of a history nerd, and he's big on the Roman Empire and the very, just like lockstep similarities that everything is happening now with what happened back then. The fact that he used Caligula's orgies as the upper tier of how bad things are going to get. It just seems like there's layers to that. You kind of got to unpack it a little bit.
Yeah. I say to myself every day, I go out and I see like the just kind of degenerate, baseline of America right now. I live pretty close to Chicago and I work there pretty often. So, I go into the city and, the other day I saw a sign for people selling, insulin strips, test strips and shit like that. I'm thinking like, okay, you're robbing your mother that's diabetic to, pay for your freaking heroin habit, whatever. But that kind of right there just kind of set the tone of like, all right, so this is where we're at now. And in a couple of years, we're gonna kind of be at the point where like I can go to any building in America and just like take off my clothes and it's just gonna be a fucking orgy. And that's gonna be the norm. We're not there yet, so like that's kind of my baseline. Like we're not quite at the final stages of Rome yet, but we're like in the middle. I think that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and when I was talking to a guy a while back, he was talking about how the original revolution, it was 5 years from the Boston Massacre that they didn't have the internet in the 1770s. So if we're like in the middle of the fall of the Roman Empire, what took 100, 200 years way back when is probably going to take 6 months now.
Yeah. There's a bit of an acceleration. Just the speed of communication kind of like amplifies that. That's an interesting point you bring up. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's kind of like the dopamine psychosis that I enumerated a little bit in my comics and personal writings and stuff. That every time that you get that like little boost from sharing something or somebody likes your post or like does whatever dopamine boosts shit that they do on social media. Every time that happens, you get that little kick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've reached a point now where like you got these people that are like very addicted to it and very tolerant of it. So they'll keep upping the ante with what they say over time. And eventually you get to this point of like people are just saying absolutely asinine, crazy shit because they've reached that stage of tolerance where they're not getting the same feedback that they used to. So it is very much like that kind of like, you know, we've reached that stage of communication where like everything is just kind of amplified and everything is very exaggerated, I guess, because we're getting that feedback from it.
Yeah. So you just said that that you lived outside of Chicago,
right? Yeah,
and
near Rockford.
Yeah, and the thing I've kind of had like some, you know, semi-informal conversations with people about it is about cities, and then I'll ask you because you live next to a big one that
Sure.
has a reputation for both massive amounts of corruption, massive amounts, as well as massive amounts of left-wing thought. So, what is it? It's kind of it's kind of a chicken versus egg sort of thing in my mind. Do cities attract people with left-wing beliefs, or do cities make people have left-wing beliefs? And my personal theory on it is that it's the sort of interdependency of people living in close proximity to each other, the hyper specialization that you get from you know, like I'm a barista and that's all I know and that's all I do, and the guy who lives in the apartment next door to me is the guy that bakes the bread down at the local deli, and that's all he does and it's all he knows. And as long as everything in this this well-oiled machine that we call a city is working at least somewhat well, then you can have that sort of hyper specialization, and it's not going to hinder you at all because we have, you know, money to exchange, you know, what you lack in your own ability to make up versus you know, what you need to survive. So that's my personal theory. I think that
Right.
cities kind of create this dependent mindset. But what's your theories on it?
I think you're right in that regard. I think also it's a matter of population as well, because once you have a large enough population to draw from, you're kind of like, you know, diffusing that need out into a very much larger pool to draw from. But you know, I think that initially people in the city are just kind of there because they're stuck. They don't really have anywhere else to go. They don't have means to travel outside the city into the suburbs to buy, you know, a nicer house or whatever. I'm fortunate that I grew up in, you know, the sticks. You know, I grew up on the fucking nature preserve, so I'm completely devoid of the city. It was only, you know, in the last probably 10 years that I really started really getting into the urban side of things and seeing it for what it was. But you know, urbanites have this kind of weird, like they start out stuck, and then because they're stuck, they kind of attract like like-minded people that are, you know, attracted to that, I don't know, squalor or that culture that they've created because they have no real option otherwise. And it just kind of it perpetuates itself off of that, you know. They get there, you know, they see the urban squalor, and then they become part of that culture, and that culture becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just snowballs from there. And eventually you get this weird urbanite miasma, I guess, that's just like full of these people that just, you know, they can't divorce themselves from it anymore.
Yeah, and the weirdest thing that I think, especially seeing how fast people are jumping ship from places like you know, Cook County area, New York, California, going to places like Texas and other places that are, you know, lower taxes, lower regulation, and whatnot. There seems to be a bit of cognitive dissonance between these urbanites. You know, they know that their city is an absolute shithole, but by God, they will defend its honor to the death.
Well,
If you're
absolutely. You know,
yeah,
it's
if you're
that tribal mindset. You know, you don't want to like shit on the place that you're from, right? You know, that's your people, right? You know, you always hear guys from like West Philly or like the West Side of Chicago or whatever, and they're talking about like, yeah, West Side, you know, and it's like, dude, you're from a shithole, you know, you dodged 3 bullets on the way here. What are you talking about? But you know, these guys are really they don't know how to not bring their bullshit with them. So, you know, places like Texas, places like Idaho, places like Wisconsin, even in Indiana, they're getting steadily ruined by the outflux of people that, you know, they leave these places because they're shitholes. And they're just untenable to live in because the tax rate is so crippling, and the amount of money that you have to just get by as a middle class person is just not it's just not there. And then, you know, they go to these places and they're thinking like, well, you know, I'm going to start new, but then they bring the same attitudes with them. So these attitudes that they've accumulated over time in these cities, they don't go away. They stay with these people. So you got areas like Texas and Idaho that are just steadily going blue, you know, because they don't know any different. They're like, oh, well, of course, this is just the way that we always done it. That can't be the reason that everything's fucked, you know. Like that was how I was raised, you know. And I think that we're seeing a really kind of depressing shift in a lot of these places that's you know, going in this weird direction that you would think it wouldn't be that direction because they know better, but they don't. They really don't.
Yeah, I know my mom lives in Idaho. I moved her up there a couple of years ago with my aunt, and they live in a place that has really been attracting the expat Californians that are fleeing in droves. And some of them are people who are wise enough to realize that the bullshit that goes on in California that the rest of the country makes fun of California for is the reason is the way that it is. They have the self-awareness to actually, you know, put 2 and 2 together on that. But there's a certain degree that come up there with their California bullshit, and she reads about it in the local newspaper. Some California can drop an op-ed or a letter to the editor or whatever about how you know, I saw a kid that couldn't be more than 16 years old with a hunting rifle in his pickup truck, and it's like, yeah, no shit, that's not a big deal, you know.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like, and it's, you know, you would think that the economic situation has no tie to something as, you know, that seems as disparate as, you know, 16-year-olds with their hunting rifles in the back of their trucks. But it's that entire mindset that kind of comes part and parcel with itself that a lot of these people can't be able to separate.
Right. Exactly.
You know, it comes as a package deal. These sorts of you know, it's like high taxes, high regulation, high social benefits, gun control, blah 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 blah. All these things kind of come together, and you can't separate them out into one or the other. And these people, it's like you said, you know, it's all they know. It's
exactly
their entire life. This is how we've done things. They assume that the rest of the country works this way. Why try to change what's working? And they bring their BS to somewhere else.
Exactly. And you know, I think a lot of it too, like even the ones that kind of think about stuff, you know, I'm by necessity a long thinker. You know, I sit in a car for like 8 hours a day. You know, I'm going to think about shit. You know, and by necessity, you know, you kind of come to these long thoughts and eventually just draw conclusions on the final stage of whatever. But I think that even the most long thinking of them, they kind of pick and choose what they care about. So like if, you know, gun control necessarily doesn't affect them because they don't own guns personally, or like, you know, any number of things, if it doesn't affect them personally, they don't really care about it. So they're willing to make those trades to get the thing that they do care about. And you'll see a lot of these people that will just basically kind of make these weird concessions that normal people wouldn't make because they just don't give a shit. They see all these things and they're like, all right, well, you know, I want abortion, so, you know, I don't give a shit about guns. I don't want a gun at home. You know, the cops protect me, you know, or, you know, it's kind of the same on the right, but not to as an extreme, you know, degree. I see a lot of single issue gun voters that'll just kind of ignore like a whole bunch of shit, like oh well, this kid's not getting fed, but at least I got my guns, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's more severe on the left, I think, but like I think these people in general, these kind of short-term thinkers, they will cherry pick what they care about, and they'll just kind of forego everything else.
Yeah. So you kind of led off that the guy that people that are watching this right now is a loose caricature based off of you and other Second Amendment supporters.
Right.
And you're obviously also from Illinois, which is reputationally one of the worst gun rights states in the country.
It is. Ironically, we only got a B+ on the gun control advocates group, which is funny to me. New York got an A, but we got a B+. So we're doing something right, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty close to the top, but I'm actually surprised. But yeah, so. Obviously, you said you're a PI and everything, so there's probably going to be some exemptions in the crazy gun laws that go on for you.
Not as many as you think. We have kind of we get a little bit of dispensation from the police as far as like what we're allowed to do. The Midwest, especially out by me, is kind of like that mindset of this is the serial killer epicenter of the United States just hasn't really left the common, parlance of the people. So whenever they see like a random white guy with a beard outside of somebody's house, they're assuming he's going to murder somebody. That's just the way it is. So we get a little bit of leeway with the cops as far as like what we do. We can kind of set up shop in one single spot for 8 hours and be left alone. Theoretically, a lot of times the cops bother me, but for the most part, as far as gun laws are concerned, we're just regular civilians. We got the same bullshit rules as everybody else. If I have to gun somebody down on the street in self-defense, I'm just as fucked in court as everybody else. I don't have qualified immunity. So, my take on it is, for all intents and purposes, I'm just a civilian. I don't have any special protections. I don't have any special rights that I can kind of leverage to my benefit. And that's impacted, I think, my way of thinking a little bit. If I was a cop, I might be a little bit different minded, where I'm like, well, if I shoot somebody, I got qualified immunity, so it's not a big deal. Whereas, if I do it, it's kind of like, all right, well, this is now a situation. Now I gotta like play the whole fucking rule thing with the lawyers, and I gotta go to court, and I gotta do this whole song and dance. And as a PI, you really need to keep abreast of the laws. Because if you don't, you're gonna get fucked like any other civilian. So it is a little bit different. We got some leeway to do stuff, but for the most part, it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, you're tolerated sitting there, but nothing else.
No, I would have figured that it would have been. I know that, like, obviously police officers and some active duty military have exemptions in places with heavy gun control, is like as far as things as possession of certain guns or high capacity magazine.
Right.
the magazine
pinged out or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if it dropped or not.
I don't know. All of our
chat. A really interesting conversation there.
Yeah. The wrong thinkers are meeting on the internet. Shut it down. Shut it down.
Shut it down.
I've never seen it do that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, man. So these last couple of years have really been kind of a golden age of new and interest that come out in the firearms market. Before that, it was a golden age of if you owned an AR, an AK, a Glock, and a couple of other like widespread guns, like you were, had an embarrassment that you could do. Everybody else was kind of on the outs, but if you filled at least those three, you were golden. And couple of years, people have kind of got the AR/AK Glock fatigue, and there's a lot of interesting things that came out over the last couple of years. So, has anything tickled your fancy? Have you said, I want to get my hands on one of those things?
You know, I love novelty guns, and I love Saturday Night Specials. You know, I wouldn't ever carry them for real for any kind of work purposes, but you know, KelTec, it's a horrible fucking company, and it makes terrible guns, but like they are legitimately the only gun company I can think of off the top of my head that is actually trying new things.
Hold on, I gotta pipe in. Are you packing a P50 on your investigations?
I wish, man. No, you know, everybody's trying to kill the Glock, or they're trying to kill ARs, or they're trying to kill AKs if they're weird. But you know, the real the innovation happening is ironically with the worst company. You know, KelTec is trying new things with like different configurations and calibers and magazines and stuff like that, and it all looks really cool. It runs like absolute ass. So nothing as far as like innovation has tickled my fancy outside of the novelty factor. Nothing is going to really change my Gen 3 Glock, because I'm a fucking old asshole and I'm set in my ways. But you know, I love the idea of new guns. I love the idea of like these novel, like, you know, someday, you know, KelTec is going to come out with some fucking caseless shit that's going to be like really cool, and it's going to run like absolute terrible ass on the range, but it's going to be really cool, and I'm going to own it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, everything that I've seen as far as like just general like quality quote unquote companies, it's just been more of the same, man. You know, it's just been like, oh, this is a Glock killer, this is an AR killer, this is a AK killer. It's like, okay, show me something different, man.
Right? Yeah. That's kind of the way that I am too, man. And like when it comes to those top three, the Glocks, the AKs, and the ARs, I'm bored. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, when's my fucking plasma rifle, right? You know?
Yeah, but yeah, and you are absolutely 100 correct. Is that KelTec is the one out there that is innovating and bringing new and interesting ideas to the market. And yeah, the guns suck.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But the plane that the Wright brothers built sucks too.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
you know, that thing is it barely gets off the ground, but like at least it got off the ground. You know.
Yeah.
And that's if
you do it first, you're going to do it worst.
Exactly. There was, I can't remember what edition Glock it is, but it's the 22 caliber one that they just came out with. And I remember, you know, looking at that, I was like, this is gotta be fucking awesome. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. And, you know, I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, this is going to be sweet. You know, I got a 22 Glock. I could just take this as a range and just plink all day. As a 10-round magazine. I'm like, what the fuck, man? You know, you could hold 30 in that thing. What the fuck did you do? You know? And,
The thing that I think was the most offensive about the Glock 44 was not so much the design of it, because it's fucking blowback 22, big deal. It wasn't the 10-round magazine. It was the hype.
Yeah, like, exactly.
I mean, Glock was balls talking about new gun coming, it's gonna be awesome, everybody's gonna love it, and then it's like, oh, it's a G19 and 22 with the 10-round magazine.
Yeah, it's I could just get a conversion kit for that and get the same fucking effect, and I have to buy a new gun. It's bullshit.
Yeah, and with the problems that they had on launch with like slides cracking and magazines nose diving and everything.
How do you fuck that up at 22?
Glock Perfection.
Oh my god. I love that company so much. It's my go-to. I will never deviate from that company as my carry gun, but I hate it so much. It's kind of like Libertarian Party, you know. It's just kind of like, I love it, but I hate it, you know.
Yeah, boy, you just opened up a whole new set of salty wounds when you bring up
here we go. Segue into our respective bids for office here. Like,
yeah. Let's talk about that. a write-in campaign for president of the United States, the man who is working harder than anybody in the country to make masculinity toxic again.
That's right.
Was running for president. So tell us how that went.
Yeah, I got like 50 votes or something like that. I got them all saved on my hard drive. I got the ballots like printed out, in a nice camera format. So that's my little. I'm gonna wallpaper my office at some point with them. But yeah, that was my sweet claim to fame. When I die, I can be like, yeah, I ran for president in 2020, and nobody can take that away from me. So that's my that's my ultimate swan song there. I understand you got what was it, 1.7% of the vote or something?
3.8, sir.
3.8. Oh my God, you did better than the national average. Good job, sir.
Right. Yes. 10,700 Nebraskans decided to check the box next to my name.
I defer to your expertise in that regard because you got way more votes for Congress than I did for president. So
yeah,
good job on you.
Well, I was actually on the ballot.
Everybody else wrote me in just as a joke, but
I didn't have to rely on an internet shitposting campaign to get my name on the ballots. I was actually there, but the fact that many people checked my name on the box and I did like fucking zero campaigning tells me maybe Nebraska's ready to secede.
I got a super fan here. He just commented that his girlfriend voted for me for mayor of I think it was Portland, or maybe it was Seattle. Was it Portland, buddy? Yeah, I think it was Portland. So yeah, that was the second office that I was eligible for was mayor of Portland.
Oh God, I think I'd be like, I will cordially decline.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch that one. That's like being governor of Florida. It's like,
enough crazy to last a lifetime in that place. All right, yeah. So segueing back into the new and fun guns and everything.
Sure.
I talked to a guy, Tim Harms, and he's the Military Arms Channel, talking about this time last year, actually, right before SHOT Show 2020, and it was right after Ruger had dropped their new Ruger 57, and now we have KelTec dropping the P50 that Ben dropped name dropped in there. And so I asked him, and I'll ask you too, is this going to be a flash in the pan, or is this going to be time for 5.7 gang to run?
A 5.7 is kind of one of those meme rounds that like I really like it in theory. And every time I see, a guy that's rocking a 5.7, I'm like, okay, this thing he spent a lot of money on this thing. This thing is great. It's it's such a fucking meme weapon. I can't even, I'm like, no, man, like just give me a Glock. What are you doing? It's cool. It's really cool. I wish it was more popular than it was, and I wish it was less expensive than it was. But it's just, it's just one of those things. It's like, man, just stop it. What do you?
Yeah, it's kind of my hope that with Ruger bringing out a sanely priced gun in the caliber, and KelTec bringing out a gun that's it's also in that ballpark of realism.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear before you finish. KelTec bringing out a gun in any caliber is going to be a range toy, nothing else.
Yeah,
unless they're complete moron.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. That just goes without saying. But it's a sub $1,000 gun that takes this cartridge.
Exactly.
And while I think that I know that most ammo companies right now are scrambling to keep up with demand for the the high demand cartridges, like 308, 5.56, 9mm, 45. If/when things kind of cool down, and you've got these companies coming out like Ruger, KelTec, I'm sure that other companies are going to be around the corner chambering things in these calibers. It's my hope that you're going to have your typical market forces where more guns in the caliber increases demand of course, is going to drop prices, and
Right.
it's also going to spur research and development more effective cartridges in that respective caliber. Because right now we've got like FMJ and VMAX, which has like 2 inches of penetration and a basketball-sized permanent wound cavity.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think that, you know, the more companies kind of adopt these things, I would love to see a Glock in 5.7. I don't even think there is a Glock in 5.7. I haven't really kept up in it, but yeah, I would love to see that, because that would be really cool. Because technically 5.7 is better than 9mm ballistically, not by much, but like it's better. So like that would be a cool round to just kind of carry around and be like, yeah, man, you know, I'm gonna just cap somebody with this fucking thing. But no, it's cool. I would love to definitely see like more adoption of that across the popular companies, the big 8 as I call them. Just because, like, you know, 9mm is really effective for what it is, but and 45 is pretty effective. But like, you kind of stagnate at a certain point with these popular calibers, and I think it's time. You know, we're in the 21st century. We need to start adopting new, you know, R&D things to give us new options, essentially. So yeah, 5.7 would be really cool, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so Christ, I had a question, but now I forgot it.
Okay, I'm half in the bag right now, so like if my answers aren't really making sense, you know, this.
Yeah, man. We just kind of like episodes like this where I don't have anything that I really want to talk about. I just find somebody that I generally just like think would be a cool person to talk to. I
appreciate it.
I get a little lit myself, and we just kind of, you know, go with the flow.
No,
yeah.
Good,
so yeah, we got some. Caleb Bennett says, "Bring back the Tround." My buddy Gary down in Georgia says he calls it because 3 mags hold 29, one holds 28, and the other holds 28. Yeah. So yeah, KelTec's quality control is like absolute garbage.
Oh yeah, it's notorious, and I don't get me wrong, I absolutely love KelTec for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
What it isn't very good, but like what it is a kind of a fuck you to the mainstream gun manufacturers, which is again, they're trying to be Glock, they're trying to be ARs, they're trying to be AKs. They're trying to supplant a market that's already saturated and with their own personal brand of bullshit. And, you know, perfect example, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, is the CZ P10C. You know, that they label that as the Glock killer. And it's just like, it's a what's the fucking difference? There's no real difference outside of like little minor niggling things that, like, if you really care about that, it's better. But it's the same fucking thing at the end of the day, you know. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So like I really like the idea of these companies kind of coming in and taking risks and trying new things, even if they don't really pan out. You know, I would like to see a company that's actually competent at quality control try to take on KelTec's designs and you know, make something of it, because I think that would be really cool. Like KSG that was actually made, you know, to spec, like, would be fucking awesome, you know.
Right. Yeah, and I love their KS7, the single tube model.
Yeah,
I think that if they adapted that to a detachable mag, whether it be like the MKA 1919 or a Saiga 12 mag, that gun would be like hell on wheels, man.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, if you made these things to, you know, some kind of like consistent quality, I think they would be really like a heavy hitter contender. Unfortunately, I think they're kind of like the Elon Musk of firearms. They're just kind of like throwing shit out there and seeing what kind of is novel and what is fun. They don't really care about the end product so much as just the idea of innovating it, you know.
Yeah, and that's the feeling that I get from that company. Is it's not like they're out there trying to like be the next AR-15 or be the next Glock 19. They're just throwing wacky shit out there, and it's really making the other big companies think, oh, hey, that's possible.
Yeah,
let's see if we can do it better.
Exactly. And I would like to see them do it better. A lot of them are like, well, but we could just make another Glock. It's they're not really taking the risk, and I think that's a shame.
Yeah, that is the real fatal problem that most of these big gun companies have is they're afraid to take risks.
Yeah.
They're so worried about their bottom lines that you got companies like, well, let's just go back to Ruger, like, or even an even better company would be SIG.
Yes, perfect example.
SIG is a company that in the last few years has come out with all of these really, really, really cool, and on their face, if you don't dig into it, they're really cool and really innovative, but they're all based on the AR architecture, like the MCX, the M400, the 516, and 517. And the thing that pissed me off about the direction that they headed is that SIG is a manufacturer that has like a couple hundred years of quality development and manufacture under its belt. And they have their own stable of high quality, highly indigenous designs of their own. But when they decided to jump ship from Europe to America, they decided to just kind of like throw out into the ocean and say, yeah, let's make ARs like every fucking buddy else.
SIG is interesting because I think once they started getting government contracts, I mean, like American government contracts. I'm not talking about like overseas government contracts. Those don't fucking matter. I'm going to anger some European people that are following my page and listening to this podcast right now. But like your governments don't really matter as far as like arms manufacturing goes. Once they got government contracts in America, it was pretty much just kind of game over. They could do whatever the fuck they wanted. So quality control just went down the hill, and their need to really stand out kind of went down as well. And I think that's kind of like the fatal flaw of a lot of these companies is just like once you get that sweet government money, you don't need to really try as hard, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Colt had that problem. HK had that problem.
Exactly.
FN is
they're notorious.
Sliding into that territory like both feet. FN is my favorite company. Like I carried a 240 and a 249 overseas. My favorite handgun is an FNX 45 Tactical that's sitting right over there on the shelf. It's like I love FN products, but in the last few years, they're just like, we got all these government contracts, and we'll throw you plebs down there in the civilian territory a crumb every now and again, and you'll like it, and you're not going to question us. I give them hell every now and again, but I'm just me.
That's kind of why I like Glock so much. And Glock is everybody's favorite company to shit on. It's also everybody's favorite company to use, ironically. It is one of those companies that's just kind of like this is going to be consistently Glock. You will never expect anything but this from any gun that we make. And I kind of appreciate that because it's just like they're not trying to be novel, they're trying to be Glocks. There's no pretension there. There's no trying to beat itself because it's just a Glock, Right. And I kind of appreciate the honesty there because it's just like, they're going to be themselves for forever. They don't really have any government contracts. They tried, but they didn't really get it. And people that adopt it, they just kind of adopt it because it's like this is useful. I could buy a mag for like $10. This is awesome. Why would I go with anything else?
That's the entire thing about Glock is do one thing and do it well.
Exactly.
It's their whole bottom line is it's like a Glock is a Glock is a Glock. Doesn't matter what caliber it is, doesn't matter what frame size it is.
Exactly.
They're all the fucking same. If you shot one, you shot them all.
Exactly.
And like to a guy like me that really thinks that variety is the spice of life, Glock is the most boring fucking company
absolutely.
But what they do very, very well.
Yeah, it's the iPhone of guns. There's nothing novel about it.
No, absolutely nothing at all.
Yeah. This is
And
the standard.
and no matter how much you got companies like Zev and Agency and Salient that try to put lipstick on a pig, you know,
it's a Glock. what are you fooling, man?
And, like I see these like $5,000 like Terran Tactical and Salient arms, and I'm just like, dude, bacon. No matter how you cook it, this pig, don't put any more lipstick on the pig. It's not. It shoots a little bit better here and there, but by and large, the average fucking fedora tipping nerd that's got the money to go out there and drop on this $5,000 Glock is not going to shoot it any better than he's going to shoot one that comes straight from Austria from the factory.
Exactly. My Georgia Glock here is completely stock. And I get a lot of shit for that. I lost count of the number of times on my pages that somebody's been like, Glocks suck, and they make fun of me for running stock, and I'm just like, look, there's two reasons why I run stock. A, it fucking works. I'm used to it. B, if I spend a bunch of money on a Glock and I actually have to use it in any kind of like defensive capacity, that thing's fucking gone. I'm never going to see that thing again. If it's in the evidence locker, it's not coming back. So that's just kind of like you get used to the stock Glock, and you're just like, you know what? It's like this runs fine. I'm used to this. I can shoot really well with this. I'm just gonna keep it.
Yeah, and why would you do anything differently?
Exactly. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but
I know, from a litigation standpoint and the possibility of losing the gun permanently or for a significant amount of time due to defensive gun use or whatever, those are all very valid points to bring up. And but at the same time, I'm the kind of guy that I can't buy a gun and not fuck with it.
Well, yeah, if you got the skill, obviously mod it to, Kingdom Come. That's your prerogative. And, if you're a gunsmith already, like, you go nuts. That's kind of what I said. I know some Glock armory and stuff, but, I'm not like a super nerd about it. It's just kind of like, just leave it alone. I know how to fix it when it breaks. That's pretty much it,
Yeah. Like, I bought my old lady an M&P Shield 9.
Those are great. I love those.
Yeah, and then I put like $600 of aftermarket parts in it because I just can't not. It's like, let's get the Apex trigger, let's get the silencer code barrel, let's get the TFX Pro sights. It's like let's get all of this cool shit and put it on there, and she can't shoot.
Well, it looks really cool, so that's really what's important. You can post it on the Instagram.
Yeah, you got to be hot for the gram, right?
Exactly. Doesn't anybody even still use Instagram? I think everybody's been banned from it.
You know what? I go on there, and the only people that I follow on Instagram is like gun and gear companies.
Are they still even there? Like,
that's like all I see is gun and gear. Now, if you like click on the little magnifying glass search option, you're gonna get nothing but basically softcore porn. But it's just like fucking e-thoughts showing their ass cheeks. But if you know the company that you want to look for and you actually follow them on your main feed, they'll be there, and they're somehow still there.
That's awesome. Yeah. Instagram is interesting because like a lot of people, especially people close to me, have tried to get me to jump on it. And it's one of those things that like it doesn't have really any functionality when you use it on a desktop like a computer. It's specifically designed for mobile. I just don't have fucking time for that. If I write a comic, and I got it all ready on my computer, I post it on my Facebook, I'm done for the day, unless I write another one. If I want to post it to Instagram or something like that, I got to like upload it to my phone, and then from the phone, like it's just like a whole big pain in the ass. I'm like, I don't care, man. Like, fuck you, Instagram. Like, write a script for like the desktop. Like, otherwise, I'm not even gonna bother.
So that's where I go when I want to like check out. One of your I think is one of your fans, and he says they're still there. Yeah, like I found a lot of really cool cottage industry, small business gear sites on Instagram just by scrolling through and like liking one page, and they'll say you might also like, and then I go to their page. I'm like, holy shit, that's a gear solution to a problem that I had that I was afraid that I was going to have custom made.
That's pretty rad. I like that the algorithm is actually working to somebody's benefit for a change. For the most part, I see just like a bunch of ads for like the alien gear fucking holster or whatever. I look in my Facebook feed and I see that shit. I'm like, God damn it! I don't want to. Just stop. There's two holsters I'll ever recommend to anyone outside of like bespoke, like really handcrafted shit, and that's Raven and Filster. Everything else is just like fuck you. I'm not even gonna bother. And I'm sure there's gonna be some small guys out there that are like, hey, what are you talking about? We make really good stuff. I'm like, okay, but
it's like send me a sample and I'll rep you too.
Yeah. These are the two companies that matter. Everybody else is like,
I carried a Glock 30 for the longest time in a crossbreed hybrid, and that was pretty good. And the outside the waistband holster that I'm rocking with my FNX right now is a Black Point Tactical.
Nice.
If you've never heard of them out, they have a nice little custom holster builder on their site, and I've also had good luck with Blade Tech. They've been a good.
Yeah, I never heard about Blade Tech, but that's okay.
Yeah, they're not definitely not a concealed carry holster. It's a big, bulky, duty style.
Gotcha.
Overt type of thing. So yeah, we're coming up on an hour right now, and that was that went by pretty quick. I was afraid that
right?
run out of shit to talk about, and I usually keep these things to an hour. So before the show, you said that you turned down a lot of interviews before, and you decided to just do this little show with me. I didn't have to beg or anything. I said, hey, you want to come on my show? And you said, yeah, sure. So like, why? Why me?
You have I don't know, maybe it's the legitimacy of running for office and everybody actually watches your show. I because I do a lot of undercover work, that's predominantly what I do for work now is stuff that's undercover. That's why you're seeing my avatar right now on my face. I have to maintain a certain level of discretion, but turning you down is kind of like turning down the Tonight Show if you're a celebrity. It's kind of like, why would you do that? So this is kind of one of those situations. It's just like, if Jay Leno offers you a slot on your show, what are you going to do? Say no? Like, that's fucking stupid. So, no, feel honored. You're definitely in my top slot of guys to go on their podcast with.
I do feel really, really good about that. That makes me
that's good, man.
Makes me happy. It's like, oh yeah, I was gonna rub it on my skin a little bit. All right, yeah. So like I said, we're coming up on an hour now. We got about 5 minutes left. Why don't you or your page, your Patreon, merch, anything that you got to tell people, and just give us some final thoughts.
Sure. My page is on Facebook primarily. I use Facebook because it just gives me the widest reach. There's any number of social media sites and personal websites out there that you can use, but like Facebook really just kind of gets your stuff out there the best, I found. And it's I Survived the Kali Yuga on Facebook. And you can ask for my merch there personally. Just message the page, and I'll hook something up with you. A lot of guys like to buy my T-shirts. It's Make Masculinity Toxic Again. It's something that's fun to wear at the gym to freak out the normies. Otherwise, if you like my work, you can donate to my Patreon. Patreon.com/I Survived the Kali Yuga. There should be a link here. I think. Somebody just put it up. And if you like it, great. I'd love to interact with you. I love to interact with all my fans. I appreciate every single one of you. Any donor that wants to donate, everybody from $1 to $1 million. I appreciate your efforts from the bottom of my heart. You let me do what I love. So thank you very much. Otherwise, just keep reading. They're free. You can go on the Facebook page and just read those comics. And, if you like them, cool. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it, man.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you're fans of ours and you're listening to this broadcast right now, go over to those sites and give him a like and a share and a follow. And if you're fans of his and you're listening to this podcast, go ahead and give us a like and share and follow. So yeah, we're running up on an hour right now. I really enjoyed this time. Stick around after Ben drops us down, and we'll do a quick little after action report.
Sure.
Everybody, please go think-liberty.com or go and look for the Think Liberty Network on whatever podcasting app you listen to podcasts on. We're on pretty much everyone. Look for our past interviews and shows that we do. We do a show every Tuesday, and I try to get guests like Ed here on my show for Friday nights. You can also go to roads2liberty.com and get one of our shirts. We also have a support group on Facebook. Ben, is that the Green Dragon Tavern?
Yes, if you sign up as a subscriber, you get into the Green Dragon Tavern on Facebook.
Okay, yeah. If you float some money our way, you can get into the Green Dragon Tavern, and we also have a Patreon right now. Ben, you just set that up a couple of days ago, right?
It's not quite ready to go yet.
Okay, well, we're working on it. We're working on that right now. We're going to e-bag a little bit and try to get some money sent our way, because I think that if we can get enough subscribers to give us some cash, then we can go and cover on ground things like the Capitol Hill protests, the Richmond gun rights rally, all of these newsworthy big events that you guys like to listen to us talk about. Well, we can actually be there and give you a firsthand report. So when we get all of that stuff set up, why don't you give us a little bit of support? So for me, Think Liberty, Ed, Ben, Nathan, all the guys over at the Roads to Liberty crew, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Have a good evening and